What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review episodes 4 and 5 of Secret Invasion. Now, this show has caught a lot of heat. Well, a lot of heat strong because obviously it's not, a mystery that this show is not getting the biggest views ever, which isn't surprising. It's a smaller show. Granted, you would think with Samuel L. Jackson leading a show, it would get a little bit more eyes on it than other shows in the MCU, but it's understandable. Secret Invasion, while the comic book is a massive thing, any Marvel fan who's ever read anything could tell you that, the show is very understated. It's a very serious, it's more of a spy thriller than anything, and I'm not talking like the James Bond or Mission Impossible, or even Black Widow or anything like that spy thriller. It's more of an old school spy thriller, where it's more about the misdirect, it's more about the changing, it's more about the twist, it's more about, that kind of stuff than the action and whatnot. It's more about the characters and their reasonings and their motivations. It's more of a serious serious show. In many ways, it's very reminiscent of Andor. Everyone's already made those parallels between this and Star Wars' Andor, which was such a great show that it got nominated for Best Drama, so that should just tell you how great Andor was. But the thing about it is Andor had 9 episodes where this has 6, and while before I even get into episodes 4 and 5, first of all, I've enjoyed this show. I really have. I've enjoyed it tremendously. This show has some of the best acting, and I've said this multiple times in multiple reviews, some of the best acting in the MCU. Samuel Jackson is so, gravitatingly charming as Nick Fury. Amelia, I think her name is Amelia Coleman, as, I always forget her name, as the British agent. She's fun. Ben Mendelsohn was fun while he was around, but the big spoiler, so this is going to be spoiler alert, Talos dies, which honestly wasn't very shocking because The Marvels is coming out, and Marvel already confirmed that The Marvels is a direct sequel to Secret Invasion. So the chances are something in Secret Invasion will lead to The Marvels. And so it ties in like that. But the thing about The Marvels, not only in the trailer, but there has been no promotion that even remotely that said that Talos would be in it. And you have to imagine if things went well, Talos would be in, The Marvels. So in my brain, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put 1 + 1 together here. Neither is Maria Hill either, which should have been the big giveaway that Maria Hill was gonna die. Because I was like, well, she's not. Well, she's Fury's right hand girl, and she's not in it. So it should have been a clue right there that she was gonna die. Same thing with Talos. But yeah, Talos died, which was a big deal. We got to see episode 4. We got to see Gravik use his powers for the first time ever. An amazing scene with Fury and his wife. Amazing scenes with him and his wife. Those two, I don't know that actress's name, but her and Samuel Jackson have amazing chemistry. You really do buy them as a married couple who have known each other for years. By the way, the show does better than most shows that I've seen at really convincing you that characters have known each other for a long, extended period of time. Sometimes in movies and shows, characters say they've known each other for years, but the way they talk and the way they act towards each other, you don't get that feeling. You're like, well, you're not treating him any differently than you would some other guy. You know what I mean? Whereas when Ben Mendelsohn, Talos talks to Nick and talks about the years they spent, working together, you feel it. When he's talking to his wife and talking about the years they spent together and having to build this marriage, you feel it. Like, you really do feel the time. Even when he's talking to Rhodey, you really do feel like there's been conversations between him and Rhodey that we just haven't been privy to. Even though it turns out that Rhodey's a fucking Skrull. Yes, now they have not confirmed as of episode 5 how long Rhodey's been a Skrull, but Rhodey is definitely a Skrull. And it's fun because Don Cheadle's on a lot more of this show than I expected him to be. Because I was very disappointed when Falcon and Winter Soldier came out and you see Don Cheadle, Rhodey in the fucking trailer, and you're like, oh shit, when is he gonna be in this? And he popped up for like 10 minutes and less than that, 5 minutes and a scene, he was gone. You never even heard from him again. So I am excited that he gets to shine a little bit here because it's got to be a fun feeling for for Don Cheadle to get the chance to kind of play a dickish asshole. Is, you know, whenever you're doing whenever I see a movie that involves people pretending to be other people, I'm like, those actors have to have such a fun time pretending to be an asshole or a different version of themselves. I often go back to John Travolta and Nicolas Cage having a blast playing like giving their impressions of each other while pretending to be each other. So I bet Don Cheadle's having a blast just being kind of the most asshole version of Rhodey I've ever seen. Because, you know, Rhodey's pretty wholesome, you know, he's pretty chill. So to see him be this obnoxious asshole, it's pretty funny. It is very funny. So cool end sequence near the end of episode 4, like I say, with the death of Talos, but they save the president, and the introduction of more powers in that Gravik has access to. And now I suppose that Gaia has access to as well. Also, yes, Gaia didn't die. And it's funny because in my brain I was like, when I saw the whole Gaia died thing, I didn't believe it. I think because I reviewed 3 and I didn't really believe it because I was like, man, you don't hire Emilia Clarke, you know, one of the head people of fucking, you know, Game of Thrones, one of the stars of Game of Thrones, and just kill her off. You know, that's just a waste of talent right there. I mean, look, you got her around. You gotta lock that down for like multiple movies and shows and shit. So when she turned out to be alive, I was like, okay, I thought so. You're not gonna lose a talent like that. But so I'm excited to see what she does in the future, because then we lead into episode 5. And episode 5, there are 2 very fun action set pieces in episode 5. One involves Fury's daughter. I mean, not daughter, Fury's wife. And that was a really cool. Granted, I did find myself going, well, that's silly, because she's all like, oh, like, because Emilia Clarke's character, you know, now she's like turned to the good guys, or at least she's not with Gravik anymore. She's helping Fury out, and she goes to visit Fury's wife. And her wife, like, even after the events of the last episode, where it's very clear that there's a hit put out on her, for some reason the wife's still at the house, and she's like, well, I built this house and I love this. And now she gave good reasonings, but as soon as them gunshots went off, she was out that motherfucker, like in 5 minutes. So it's pretty funny. But she was prepared. I give her that. She was prepared. She's a former agent. She knew how to handle herself. Both of them did. They fucked them dudes up, dude. It was a very cool action set piece. Also cool action set piece with Gravik when they tried to take him down because he's showing his true colors. His true colors are being shown. He started killing people for just questioning him. And also, a lot of stuff got answered. First of all, throughout the entire course of the show, and why a billion people have lost their minds on the internet talking about why Fury doesn't just call the Avengers. Because everyone, mostly for 2 reasons. One, because things are starting to get out of hand, and it does feel like in movies, especially in Marvel, whenever things start to get out of hand, you kind of question, like, you know, you can easily call for help. I mean, like, look, we could go back to phase 2. The President of the United States got kidnapped, and Tony never even thought to call Captain America. Captain America was a wanted man from S.H.I.E.L.D., and Tony or Bruce, no one ever looked at or Bruce, even Hawkeye, looked up and was like, oh shit, and went out to help him. But it's one of those things you have to just accept. It's a thing in comics you have to accept, and you just have to roll on with why people don't do it. But it's hard to do that in film, because especially when you're so intertwined and you try to connect so much, that it does become hard to explain why heroes don't get involved. But they actually had a reason. Now, they gave a reason in the beginning about them being cloned, but the actual reason Fury hasn't called any of the heroes is 2. One, because he thinks they become too reliant upon heroes, and because that's what Sword and Shield were in the first place. Like Sword and Shield in the comics, that's their whole thing, is they're prepared for a world without heroes. You know what I mean? They make plans with heroes involved, but they're trying to prepare themselves for the day that they can defend themselves. That's what the Sword space. That's what Sword is, and that's what the space station's all about. It's about not needing superheroes to get shit done. So that's one big reason. He doesn't want to completely rely upon the superheroes. And that makes sense coming from Nick Fury. I mean, we are talking about a guy who in the first Avengers movie was developing a bomb to kill Thor. Now that shit has been forgotten, but he did do that. But the main reason is because Fury has access to all of the superheroes who fought in the battle of, Battle for Earth in Endgame. He has access to all their blood samples. Apparently, at the end of Endgame, which you kind of figure something like this would have gone down anyways, but maybe not this in particular, Fury had all his Skrull agents scuffle through all of the wreckage and collect blood samples from all the superheroes. So he has just this, like, he has a big batch of their blood samples ready to go to, like, experiment on and try to replicate their powers and whatnot. He has this he never says it explicitly, but that's basically what he was doing. Was trying to figure out a way to replicate these superheroes' powers. And it's some shady shit. But that was the most Nick Fury thing Samuel L. Jackson has done in the MCU as Nick Fury, is collecting the blood samples of all the superheroes and sneakily on the side trying to see if he can replicate their powers. And I've often said, in comparison Nick Fury to Amanda Waller, Nick Fury is shady, but he'll do the right thing in the end, where Amanda Waller will do the right thing when forced. It's shady. It's shady, and she'll do the wrong thing in the end. You know, like if you force her in a corner, like make it no choice, she'll do the right thing. But you gotta really do that. Whereas Nick will do some shady shit. Nick will make a fucking LMD clone of you. Nick will have some information on you that no one else knows, that he'll drop, that he's like leaving just in case he can drop it on you in case you ever become a threat. Like, Nick does shady shit, but at the end of the day, he will do the right thing. But this is super shady, him collecting all those blood samples. And as it turns out, the real reason he doesn't want those heroes to come down is because if Gravik can get a blood sample of any of those heroes, if he summoned any hero and Gravik got a blood sample from them, he can mimic their powers. So that's why he's kept the heroes away and haven't called any, because he doesn't want to make Gravik any stronger than he already is. And the reason Gravik hasn't killed Fury already is because Fury is the only one who knows where those samples are. It really answered a lot of questions, and it cleared up so much. Particularly the big questions, the obvious villain shit, which is why hasn't Gravik just killed Fury already? He knows he's going to be a threat. And why is Fury not calling down the Avengers? Not the Avengers. Avengers don't exist. But, making calls to people he can rely upon. Because, like I said, he knows if Gravik gets a sample, if any of those heroes come down and Gravik manages to get a sample off of them, he can then take their powers in. It will only make them stronger. By the way, the device Gravik's using to give himself those powers, I would not root off that device sticking around. It may be used for other things in the MCU. Also, we got a fun cameo from Mason, and you might not remember Mason. Mason was the guy who got shit for Black Widow, the one who got on the plane, the one who got all her stuff. And it's funny, it's fun to see him show up here. There's a lot of Black Widow shout-outs in this show, by the way. There was a shout-out to Dracoff, like in the third episode, and there's a shot in Mason showing up here, giving Fury stuff, which makes sense. That's great connectivity right there. Like, that Mason's the guy in the MCU that if you need, a quick getaway, if you need a quick, unauthorized getaway, you call this dude and he can give you the hookup. I hope you get to see more of him do shit like this. That's fun. But either way, had a great time with both episodes. I think episode 5 was slightly better than episode 4. I think episode 5 was like a good solid 8, and I think episode 5 was like a 7.5. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said, I'm still having a great time with the show, but admittedly, this does feel like a show that probably need more episodes, which you can describe a lot of the MCU shows as. This show could have used two more episodes, like 2 or 3 more episodes. 9-part series. I think it could have fixed a lot of the issues. But overall, I'm still having a great time. Like I say, some people are angry, but I think it's funny that they asked for a show like this, they got it, and now they don't want it. And it does make me laugh a little bit. First, you complain that things are too funny, and you're like, okay, you take something seriously, MCU. Then they make this, you're like, oh, well, this is slow and boring. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, what the fuck do you guys want? It's so confusing. You can't please these people, man. You cannot please these people. But it is what it is. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Kind of Game Movie Show. Please remember to subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.